Good morning. Hello, hello. Today we have the Picante palette by Karity Cosmetics. It is a dark and very foggy morning, so I hope my little light here can help us see all the colors that we want to see today. So this is the Picante palette. I believe this, from the videos I find on YouTube, this looks like a palette that might have come out maybe like 3 years ago, so this isn't something new. Also, at this point, this brand, Karity, it's gone. It no longer exists. If you go to their website, you're not going to find it anymore. However, I was able to find my palette on Amazon. If you go on Amazon right now and look for the Picante Karity palette, you'll be able to find one for about $16. I've been eyeing this palette for a while now when I saw it in some old reviews. And I've just kind of been sitting on it, and until recently, I think there was some sort of maybe like Prime Day or something. I was able to get this palette for a little bit cheaper, not too much more, but I ended up finally getting it, and I got it because I really loved this top row of what looks like online, and even on the box, like yellows. And I was like, oh, y'all know I love yellows, so I bought this palette mostly just because I was under the impression that there would be a top row of yellows for me to try. So this is the outside carton. This is what the box looks like. You could tell from the size of this box that it's quite a flat palette, just a very simple square 21 colors palette. The palette itself looks pretty much exactly like the box. They're pretty much copies. Like, it's the same exact thing, even to the back. It has the same exact just copy. So even if you got rid of the box, you would still have what's on the box. I like that, specifically more on the box, that the shade names and the shades in this palette are on the back, just so if this palette ever ended up in a place like Marshall's, you would hope people wouldn't really open it because they could see the colors here in the back and be like, oh, okay, these are like yellow, orange, berry kind of colors. These are for me or they're not for me. And hopefully they wouldn't open it and try to swatch it as they usually do, right? So I really like that when they do something like this, so you know, if it ends up somewhere else at a wholesale, then it's easier for the person buying it somewhere else to know what's in there. Alright, I have quite a bit to say about this palette, so let's finally actually open it up. Ooh. This is the palette. On camera, I'm sure this top row, I think that's might be what the issue might just be. Hopefully you can tell, but this top row, it's not actually yellow. You got some golds on top, and then some like camel brown and peach is what the first row is. And then you got the second row, which is of oranges, and your last row, which is more reds and berries. Right? Okay. It has no mirror, which I really like, because I would think that having no mirror keeps the cost down. And also, if I'm doing my makeup, if I'm wearing makeup, I'm doing it in a place that has to have a mirror. If there's no mirror, I'm probably not doing my makeup. I like how compact it is. It'd be very easy to take on a trip. But here is what I want to say about this one. When I first dipped into, before I even tried it, I think I dipped into this one, which is called Fearless. And it wasn't the best color, and I thought, oh no, this did not swatch very well. I think this is going to be a really like poop palette. Like, it's not going to be very good. I'm going to end up passing this palette along. So instead of starting on top, I ended up using, I believe it must have been these four right here, down here. And I created a very beautiful look. I really liked it. I was really a bit more astounded and impressed with this look that I created with these darker ones down here. And then the next day, I finally used the rest of these, it was these, it was these over here, to try and create a look. I was even shocked to find that this peach color on top here actually showed up on my skin, so I'm like, that's nice. I am in the middle with this palette. So there's two things I want to say, mostly, and it's that I feel like this palette is for someone with either youthful skin or very mature skin. And this is what I'm talking about. I feel like this would be a good palette for my 16-year-old cousin, and I feel like this would be a good palette for my 50-year-old mother. You know what I mean? And I think I was trying to figure out, I'm like, why do I think that though? And I think it's because when I watch videos of more, we'll say, mature ladies, they talk about how they don't really like to use shimmers as much. And this palette, it does have shimmers, but it's not incredibly shiny or sparkly. It's just enough of a light metallic to be like, oh, that's definitely different on your eye. You can definitely see it on the eye a lot more different. And I also think, like, shades like these, my 6-year-old cousin probably wouldn't be allowed to use because it'd be considered too intense, and she probably would have been told, you're too young to be wearing colors these strong, as they say. They're like, these colors are too mature for you. But I feel like because these shades are so, what's the word? Colors feel kind of, I don't want to say the word dull, but they're just colors that aren't, I mean, it's not like they're not intense, like they don't work, but what I mean is just that they're, the shades of like red and orange in here are more earthier, which I feel like makes it feel not as, you know, bright as maybe a red Jeffree Star might have, you know what I mean? I can't think of the word right now. But if I remember it, I'll put it down below in my description, as I always do. I always do another kind of recap, mini review down below. But yeah, I feel like these colors work well enough for someone in their 50s, and it works well enough for someone, you know, who's a teenager, where you kind of have, it's not pale, it's just these aren't as bright. Like, the color is there. Because here's what I gotta say. Listen, the colors in this palette lasted so well. I was a bit surprised at how well and long they standed, even though they weren't like, you know, intensely purple, intensely red, super shimmery shadows. The product itself held up very well. So let me swatch some of these so maybe you can see what maybe I'm talking about. Like, I'll swatch, okay, I'm trying to look at, like, for example, this, look at these. These two look like, maybe on the screen, I don't know how much it might actually look like. They might look like yellows. To me, these are just like freaking a camel brown. I would not call these yellows. Ooh, it's so soft. So I'll do that one, and then I'll do like spicy was really nice, and then I'll do a purple one for Epice is what it says, I think. So look at that. Let's swatch in the back of the hand. Ooh. Let me maybe get back into this one called Dune. I guess that's what it was. Dune. And you can see here, like, there's color to them. But it's not like an insanely red, as, because there's certain colors I know my mom would be like, oh, you know, a purple in some other brand might be intensely too bright. She's like, oh my god, I look like a clown, right? I feel like these are shades she wouldn't be afraid to wear. I also feel like these would be shades my cousin would be allowed to wear, because even though it is a red, it's not like this bright, bloody red. It's just like kind of more, I don't want to say, there's all these words that are coming to mind, but I don't want to say them, because if I say like, oh, these are like more chalky, and so I'm not describing the product as bad or that it's like ashy or powdery, because the product and the formula itself I think is quite good. I feel like these are kind of mid colors. And again, it just sounds so bad, but I do not mean it in a bad way, not at all. Because there are some people who don't want that intensity, and but you also don't want a product that it's like has no color and is super just powdery and pale. Like, I feel like these shades are enough for someone. And I also feel like because they'll still show up, but they're not super intense, this really is quite a good everyday palette where you can get some color out of it and create some different looks. Let's do some shimmery swatches. So maybe let's go over here to Morning. Morning would be good. And then, let's see, Haley? I think I'm looking at. We'll do Haley. And then maybe Flora. And it's on there, you know. You can see it's on there. So again. The golds in here are lovely. The formula on my arm is a little flaky, but I think nothing you can't work with. And this is what I'm talking about. Look how pretty. I think they're just more like grungier tones. Because look how it is pretty. It's not super intensely, you know, sparkly, but there's definitely color there that is going to last. And it's not super weird, out of this world, you know, colors. Wow, I've never seen a color so bright before. But it definitely does what it needs to do, I feel. You can definitely build these up. I really like this palette. I think there's kind of like a mid-tone kind of range in here where it's enough color for every day. I don't think I would pick up this palette for like a special event where I really want that glitz and glam. But I also don't think, you know, this is a palette that I would set to the side and not use again. I think this is a really decent palette and it lasts enough throughout the day to still look good. When I was wearing this palette, even after, God, a whole day, I went to go look in the mirror and I think this eyeshadow had barely creased on my eye, which is again why I think it would be really good for mature skin. Because I have a lot of like foldies in my eye, and like if I can wear it and have it last that long, I think someone like my mom would be able to wear this palette as well. It's a really pretty sunset palette. I also wanted to point out, when I was watching other people's reviews, they pointed out how close this color story is to collections from like Natasha Denona, but also like ColourPop and other brands. So this is maybe colors you already have in your collection. If you don't and you're looking for a good kind of low price drugstore, you get for $16 on Amazon 21 colors. I think that's a pretty good deal. That means it's less than $1 for each shade. So if you're looking for something like that, I do recommend this palette, but you might want to look through your collection if you have a collection and see if you maybe already have these shades. But I was quite surprised. I think these are they're just lovely. They're good base colors. I think they're good. It's a good kind of like starter eyeshadow palette for maybe someone who doesn't know too much about makeup, but wants a good palette with some good colors that are going to withstand the time throughout the day. They're going to have some pigment, but not, you know, not too crazy much. You can keep adding on top as much as you want. Look how pretty. I think this is a really good palette. It's bringing me peace. Overall, I think this is a very beautiful kind of sunset palette. It's giving me fall. These are like the beautiful fall colors, nice grungy colors, affordable colors that would be great for this fall. I definitely recommend it to everyone. Y'all have a great day.